Hello. Welcome to another episode of the NHCFAE Career Series podcast. I am Misty Peña, your host for today's podcast. Today, we're highlighting a behind the scenes role that impacts every technician and facilities across the FAA, maintenance operations systems. Joining me today is Misael, part of the team responsible for developing, enhancing, and supporting the tools FAA technicians rely on every day. Misael, thank you for being here. Can you start by sharing what is a maintenance operations system within the FAA?
So, like Misty said, my name is Misael. Last name's Goicuria. I go by G. Everybody in the FAA calls me G. My job is when technicians are in the field performing maintenance, they have to do logging, corrective maintenance, and administrative tasks. The tools we develop help them do that. You're easily there with the hands-on stuff, dealing with your tools, dealing with your equipment. But then you get back to the office, or in our case, the tool that we developed on your phone, you can now in real time log what it is that you're doing. So anybody that jumps in like a manager knows what's going on at all times.
Awesome. That is very interesting because I've learned something today from that explanation. So, in a sentence or two, can you describe what your team's mission is?
So the mission for our team is to basically, it's kind of hard actually to give it in a sentence or two because we deal with more than just the logging tool. We also do support for those tools, but our mission is to make efficiency across the entire FAA tech ops portion of, the nation, or the national tech ops. And what that means is, in order for things to be efficient, we have to be able to have that communication between air traffic and tech ops and what it is that we're doing in conjunction with what they're doing. I don't want to take down a radar, right? If an air traffic controller is using it. I also don't want to take down a voice switch in the same case. So the mission for our team is to provide that communication line to maintain efficiency and safety for the national airspace.
What's something most people don't realize about maintenance operations systems?
I think a lot of people go into the job thinking that you're just going to work on one piece of equipment, and that's not the case. We're very fluid with tech ops. Like for me, for instance, I work on the communication side of the house. So I dealt with radio communication. I dealt with voice switch, which is what air traffic uses to communicate with planes. But I also need to take into account that my systems deal with outside systems with contractors like FTI, which is like your Verizon networks and other things like that, AT&T. So you have to be able to jump in and jump out and be more fluid and learning all these different types of equipment and understanding what it is that other people are doing. Like I don't work on the radar side, but guess what? Radars go through my equipment. So I have to understand at least the basic concepts of what it is.
How many different pieces of equipment have you had to work on in your job?
So currently in my role, well, when I was in the communications department, we had about 15 major pieces of equipment that we worked on. However, in the tech ops realm, that can go anywhere upwards to close to 100, believe it or not, because you have the main systems like your radars, you have your radio systems, you have your voice switches, but then you have to take into account the breakers, the environmental stuff, the air conditioning systems. Like we support all of that. It's not just the equipment itself. There's a whole team of technicians that work on just the environmental equipment, which provides power to all of our equipment. And that in itself is an animal. It's a large monster, which was another department that I was in for a while as well as their coordinator. And we had to deal with fire alarm systems, things that you really don't think about, but you're like, okay, well, if there's a fire in here, what's going to stop this from burning the equipment? Well, the fire alarm system and the overhead sprinkler systems and everything else. And then the communication between that to the fire department. So it's not just dealing with water portion. Now you're like, okay, well, how does this get out of the building to contact for help? So there's a lot of things. And I mean, it makes it fun for me. If you're a person that likes to learn and be hands-on, that's where tech ops shines, because you can make it what you want it to be. You can say, I just want to work on this equipment, and you'll be fine with that. Or you can be like me, and it's like, what are you doing over there? Let me learn that as well.
As a career FAA employee, I did not realize the amount of equipment that y'all do work on. So, I mean, I'm definitely learning something out of this podcast today. So, what tools or which tools under your team are most widely used or most critical?
So right now on the development team I'm on, with the tools that we use and that we maintain, the most used is called TAP. It's a logging tool used for the technicians. It opens a bridge of communication between the technicians and the centers in order to communicate all that information to air traffic. It creates that cohesion to where I'm not going to take something down without everyone knowing what it is that I'm taking down, on top of risk mitigation. So, and then in there, we also do our logging for any performance maintenance that we're doing, as well as corrective maintenance. So I guess to just give everyone kind of like an example, let's say a VOR or an ILS, a system out in the field goes down. Air traffic realizes, hey, this system went down. Now, the new tool that we just developed, ATour, they can report that. They report, hey, I can't use XYZ. That system flags our center, which is what's called the OCCs. They see it, and then they're like, okay, I just got this ping from an air traffic controller that this system's down. They coordinate with us as the technicians. The technician then coordinates back with them to let them know, on this day at this time, I'm going to go out there to do the necessary repairs. Is air traffic okay with that? Air traffic then relays that information back, and then we're good to go. Or they might say, no, hey, that's not a good day because of weather or the flight patterns, or the time that you're doing it at isn't good because we have a lot of air traffic at that time. So that's basically the most utilized tool is TAP and ATour. Those two tools combined really creates that efficiency that I discussed earlier in our conversation.
Is that how a typical day looks? You just
Yes.
explained.
Yes. And that is every day across the nation. So when you're seeing on the news, hey, this radar went down at New Jersey, it's not just a radar went down. 100 other things happen between that radar going down and all that being relayed to the technicians, and the technicians trying to get out there to do the necessary repairs and bring it all back up.
I do think people will learn a lot out of that, not realizing the all the steps that go before that goes down. So very interesting. Can you share an example of a recent issue from a technician point of view and how your team resolved it?
Yeah, every day we have what's called the NRN intake, which is we get complaints from the field from technicians, right? So my job is to help the technician side. So I'm troubleshooting for a technician. And we get phone calls about, hey, the tool wasn't doing what it needed to do. And one of the biggest ones was certifications. A technician went out, they finished their job, certified. The next technician, who just so happened to be at a center, just so happened to certify because they did PMs on that same piece of equipment. Well, now you have a legal issue. Those certifications are legally bound to us in the event that there is a collision or anything, God forbid, happens to any airplane or any type of a safety issue. Those certifications are legal binding contracts stating the technician did their job, the service was up and running when it was said it was running. Steal that cert, it changes the time. So that in turn turned into us having to troubleshoot and figure out what's going on. And, from there, I have to talk to developers and I have to figure out what it is that's going on and realize, oh, okay, I see what's happening. This guy's certifying the same piece of equipment, but just so happened to take the same annotation that they use, and now it stole their certification and changed the time. And now this technician's getting flagged. His manager's asking, why is this not certified? So on and so forth. But long story short, after working on that problem, we were able to roll out a new nationwide update where if I certify at the same time the other technician certifies, it now separates those two certifications automatically to ensure there's no longer any overlapping or stealing of certs.
Sounds like every day is an interesting new day.
Yeah, the problems change. Every day is something new.
How do you balance urgent troubleshooting with long-term development work?
So our job is safety. The number one thing is always safety, safety of the NAS, safety of the flying public. So if I'm having an issue with a technician calling me that, hey, I can't bring this radar up or I can't bring this ILS or VOR up because XYZ, that's going to take precedent over somebody just saying, hey, I don't like the way this bubble looks on the tool. I'm like, okay, well, that's just a visual thing. This other thing's more important because that'll actually stop air traffic from flowing. I have to be able to return my equipment into service for the airplanes of air traffic to utilize those tools.
And for our audience, you've used the acronym VOR and ILS a couple of times. Would you like to
Oh,
spell out what
so
that means?
so ILS is instrument landing systems. When you're landing a plane and you're coming in, there's equipment at the end of your runway that basically throws up a invisible virtual signal to let the plane know how high or low you're going. And if you're up too high, it's going to say, hey, go down. And if you're down too low, it's going to alarm, hey, you need to go back up so that we have a safe landing. Visual, which is VORs, that's your visual systems. That's more of like lighting systems and things like that you can see, coming in. And anybody watching this, I highly recommend just look up on YouTube. There's videos of it from the cockpit that will blow your mind away of how these planes actually come in on each one of these types of systems.
I think I might have to go to YouTube and check those out. I've been around planes for a long time, but it is interesting from your point of view. What does collaboration look like between your team and software developers for these systems?
So with our team, we deal with a lot with way up there, all the way from VP all the way down. And this is again on a daily basis. So the VP will contact my manager, even sometimes directly us, which is it's probably unheard of in most fields. You don't normally hear from the CEO of a company, right? But we do. We actually hear from them. Hey, New Jersey's having a problem, or hey, from Alaska, I'm hearing XYZ. What are we doing to resolve these issues? We not only have to collaborate with technicians out in the field, but we also have to collaborate with air traffic in their side of the house. Before I roll out a tool, I have to let air traffic know, hey, this tool is going to help you and help tech ops in order to bridge that communication that we're lacking or not lacking in, but try to make it more efficient. Going back to that terminology. Then we have developers. A lot of them are contractors. Now I have to switch my head to, hey, how can you make this tool work? Which is dealing with IT programming. I have a background in iOS and Apple. I used to work for Apple in their enterprise department. So it's a little bit easier for me to communicate some of that stuff to the developers, but other personnel on our team don't have that. They come from a different slew of technical background. So we have to be able to kind of dumb down some of the things that we're talking to these developers about so that way they understand what it is that we want them to do with the tool to roll it out. So again, a lot of switching. Your brain's constantly switching. I have ADHD, so it works well for me.
It is definitely very interesting, like just what a day sounds like for you. But it sounds like you interact a lot with technicians, developers, leaderships across the FAA. So what skills or qualities help you succeed in that environment?
Communication's a big one. If you're getting into this field, look into courses that help you with communication. And I mean like active communication, active listening, being able to take in information and then be able to regurgitate that information, being able to understand perspectives of where people are coming from and understanding, I guess, the knowledge base in which people are coming from. And what I mean by that is if I'm talking to a technician, I can get very technical. But if I'm talking to an air traffic controller, I'm not going to start telling them like, how I just did VOR, ILS, and I'm going to have to bring it down more to their level. And likewise, there's things that air traffic does that I don't understand. So I'm like, can you show me how to do that? Or what it is exactly that's going on with, with your issue, or what it is that you want to see. And all that just comes with a lot of experience. Just being able to go out there, expose yourself, understanding, like with myself, I'm not shy. I don't know if you can tell. I'm very much open. I've always been a class clown. I never took anything super serious, but I definitely take my job very serious. So that's really helped me in being able to communicate with others and being able to collaborate with a lot of different departments.
Wow. I mean, it does. It's from being on the other side of the FAA house. I mean, hearing this is just like it's a totally different perspective of what you do every day. So you talked about you were at Apple prior of experience in iOS. How did your career path lead you to this current role?
My wife says, you move around way too much. You're definitely ADD for my job. I started off in the Coast Guard, in the military. I did 10 years of Coast Guard as an electronics technician. The running joke with the Coast Guard is the electrician there is also known as a everything tech. So that's kind of what pivoted me into this career field. I didn't just learn one piece of equipment, I learned all pieces of equipment. I had to learn IT, I had to learn servers, I had to learn radars, I had to learn radios. But on top of that, I was dealing a lot with higher ranking officials. When equipment goes down and it belongs and you're in the middle of a mission, like you can't say, oh, well, it's down. It's how are we going to fix it? But I also have to know how to communicate that with that higher ranking official who's trying to get their mission complete. That kind of pivoted me once I moved back into the civilian sector. Again, moving into another technical background, working on ATM machines, did that for a little bit. And then I moved into Apple, into their enterprise department. Don't know how I landed that one, honestly, but I learned so much there just about newer technology and learned a lot about communicating, how to communicate a lot with officials outside of this country. Like I was dealing with people from Europe, Australia on a day-to-day basis, Brazil, here in the US, and CEOs, CFOs, because it's enterprise. So I can't just go in there and start talking like how I would, like slang and throwing myself back. Obviously, you have to hold yourself to a professional manner. But at the same time, that helped with my communication skills, whereas the military helped me a lot with my technical skills.
Well, it sounds like you had a great foundation in multiple moving parts all at the same time, communicating with senior leadership at such a young age, being in the military. Thank you for your service. So, how do you see maintenance operations systems evolving over the next few years?
How do I see the systems evolving within the next few years? I think that with the way technology has been going, a lot of emphasis has been going into AI, artificial intelligence. I know it's like a big concern in the technical field of people aren't worried that AI is going to take over their jobs. Let's just be blunt with it, right? Everyone's concerned, is AI going to take over my job? I don't think that's the realm in which, as a technician, we're going. We're more so looking at it, how can I utilize AI to make my job easier or use it as a tool to be more efficient? That is one, that is where we are headed. People can try to push back on it all they want, but I think we've seen how just chatbots have gone, like, Chat GPT and other AI software in just a year's time, how much it's advanced, how we went from videos of seeing things that you give it a video prompt and it was wonky, and now you can't even tell if this is real or if it's not. And that advancement is going to continue to happen, but we either adapt, right? We have to adapt to overcome, because if we don't jump on board, then you're going to get left behind. And as a technician, if you're coming into this career field, I would just like to kind of put into people's minds, like the younger generation, like my son right now, he's going into mechanical engineering. They're using AI to help them write certain things, like whenever they're developing certain tools and other things that they're working on. They're using it as a tool, as a resource. And I see that being utilized more and more as we continue to move forward into the future. Does that mean less jobs? Not necessarily. As a technician, I highly advise everyone to really hone in on their skills, hone in on their physical skills, right? Because you're not going to have a robot come in here to fix your radar or do any of that, but also hone in on where AI, how you can utilize those tools to make you stand out as a technician.
Most definitely. The growth in AI just over the last 12 months has been instrumental. I mean, it's amazing. So, are there any certifications or trainings you would recommend to someone looking at the job you do?
Yes, if you're looking at making career jumps and advances, it'd be good to come in with a PMP. If you can get a PMP certification, it in the beginning, it's not going to matter because you're going to come in as a technician, you're going to be learning things. But as your career starts to advance, if you have that PMP certification, that's going to make you stand out in front of the other technician. And not only that, but I just recommend everybody, if you can even just get a project coordination certification, which is easier, it's like a 6-month course. If you can get that, that'll really help you because it translates really well with everything the FAA is doing right now. Right now, it is burning. We got 638 radars. We need to completely remove, dismantle, and replace in 2 years. Now, that's a dream that this administration really wants us to do. Everybody, I don't see it happening. However, they are making the push. And in the last year, I've changed out 3 major pieces of equipment in the last year, which was unheard of in the past. In the past, it would take 5-10 years before you start seeing any type of movement toward these things. But that program management certification really helped me because now I understand the Gantt charts, I understand the flow, I understand where things are going, and I'm not being blindsided. I'm able to speak to it as well.
Wow, that is progress. Amazing. So, for our audience, the National Hispanic Coalition supports professionals across multiple disciplines in the FAA. How has the coalition helped you or others in your field?
The coalition exposed me to a lot of managers and a lot of programs that I did not know the FAA had as far as career. My first exposure to the National Hispanic Coalition was a year into being into the FAA, and I went to one of the conferences. And there I was able to learn about the tools that the FAA had for learning how to do interviews and be interviewed. And I utilized that. I utilized those tools. I worked through it, and it helped me advance my career leaps and bounds over other candidates that I was competing against. Not only that, but it also helped me to help others. So everything that I've learned from the Hispanic Coalition, I don't hold that information. I'm going to quote something that one of my own mentors told me. It's not the holding of knowledge that makes you stronger, right? It's a dissemination of that knowledge that makes you stronger. And everything that I learned from the coalition, I will disseminate. Like I will not, I'm very transparent. I don't hold anything back. And the coalition has been hands down one of the best decisions that I've ever done as far as joining any type of organization.
Well, and those are great words to live by. And I was fortunate enough to meet Misael at his first conference, and it has been a pleasure over all the years. Thank you. We're almost at the end of this podcast. Do you have any additional thoughts or words of advice, encouragement you would like to give to anyone out there listening?
Yeah. For those in the FAA right now, keep your head up, keep moving forward. Everything's going to be fine. This last year has been a slew of whiplash because we don't know where we're going here or there. But always know that the goals and what we do is about the safety of the flying public. That is our number one goal. And that is the number one thing that nobody can ever take away from you, your career, and nobody can ever take that from us. And secondly, anybody planning on joining the FAA or coming into the federal workforce, I highly recommend it. It is the best decision that I've ever made. I did 10 years Coast Guard. Normal people will finish out because that's a halfway point. Just do the other 10 and finish your career. I didn't. And it was the best decision to leave the Coast Guard to eventually end up here into the FAA.
That is awesome. I mean, I mimic those words as well. So we'll conclude. So for our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode and want to connect with more aviation professionals, consider joining the NHCFAE. Visit us at www.nhcfae.org to learn more. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.